people are waiting for relief. I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that will be consequential for child care. A lot has happened already.
Why are we whispering?
I don't know.
Hello, this is Karen.
And this is Kevin.
And this is Right From Us. That's Creepy Joe for you. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but his latest social faux pas was to whisper at the reporters.
Yeah, he had a.
I think he's doing it just for
press conference.
Emphasis, or
I don't know what it was. He had this press conference where he was talking about the relief that's coming out, and he got asked a question about. And it was kind of contradictory because I think the question was, do you think all this aid that's going to everybody is affecting people going back to work? And then he went into this whispering mode, and he did the whispering like 3 or 4 times during that press conference. It was really creepy. It was creepy weird,
and I don't know if he was trying to do it for effect, if he's trying to like bring America in on this big secret or what, but he was maybe trying to be cool, and he's definitely not being cool.
A few weeks ago, he was doing this thing where he was like practically yelling in the microphone. So
they probably told him, you need to quieten it down, Biden.
I think his staff probably said,
too far.
Don't yell. So he started to
whispering
whisper
instead.
You're really creepy.
He has got to be a public relations nightmare to handle, because they're probably just shaking their head like he's just one gaffe after another.
I mean, he's been weird. He's been weird ever since he's been around.
For a while. He's
always been weird.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the campaign trail, he was weird.
Well, even watching old clips of him when he was younger, he was weird.
Do you remember the No Malarkey tour? The No Malarkey tour.
Mm-mm.
He had on the side of his tour bus, his campaign bus. It said No Malarkey.
Oh, I think I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
No Malarkey.
I don't know.
That's a term from like the 50s, isn't it, or something?
Well, I think he's
40s.
Stuck in the 50s. Then some of the language he uses, and it's just, I don't know. He's an oddball for sure. But hey, at least we don't have mean tweets.
That's true. No mean tweets.
Hey, we're much better off because we don't have any mean tweets anymore.
Yeah. The press conference was, one of the subjects was the relief that's going to be available for families with children. And it's going up to $3,000 a year.
Is that per child?
Per child, and they're just going to start sending out checks, $300 a month. $300 a month checks are just going to start showing up people's accounts.
So how is that different than the unemployment money?
Well, this is per child.
So it's going to motivate people to go out and have children so they can get money.
Yeah, exactly.
Because basically that's what social programs do as well.
Exactly. Right.
And this is all a big plan to get people on socialism, don't you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's how they get people sucked in. You get all these free payments coming into them, and they get used to it, and then it's going to be hard for people to go back to work. They've got all this free money coming to them.
Well, yeah. I mean, why would they? I guess because, if you're getting paid to stay home.
I know these poor restaurants are still struggling. We've got tons of restaurants around here with
not just restaurants.
Nobody to work in their dining rooms.
I heard a commercial the other morning advertising for a manufacturing job. Come in and make $23 an hour at a manufacturing job. So I don't think it's just restaurants. I think it's everybody.
Yeah.
But
the restaurants are especially being hit because people that are going back to work are going for the higher paying manufacturing jobs. And,
right. True.
There's a certain number of people that just aren't going back to work.
Right.
So,
but didn't you say you thought this was a ploy to basically make the employers pay their employees more money?
As I've been saying for about, 6 months or something, this is sort of a stealth way to get employers to raise their minimum wage up to $15 an hour, which is what's happening,
Yeah.
To get people to come to work, you're going to pay at least 12.
How do you feel about that, by the way?
Minimum wage?
Mm-hmm.
There shouldn't be a minimum wage. It should be the market.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what's happening. The market is demanding $15 an hour, basically because people can make more money sitting at home than that.
So who started the minimum wage?
Was
that FDR?
I don't know.
It seemed like he implemented a lot of social programs when he was in office.
Minimum wage actually creates unemployment because employers have to, if they have to pay a certain minimum wage they can't afford, then they cut back on labor and it creates unemployment. So
yeah,
it actually hurts the people it's designed to help.
Well, of course, because it's the government. Yes. Yep. And then when they figure out it's not working, instead of trying to revamp the program or get rid of the program, they're like, oh, well, let's just add to it.
Yeah, let's just raise it more.
Let's make it even more convoluted and not working. Yeah, that's the government for you, for sure.
So we had the, did you hear about the Birds Aren't Real movement rally in Springfield?
No.
A couple days ago?
Birds aren't real?
Birds aren't real. You haven't heard about that?
No.
Yeah, birds aren't real. This guy apparently is going around the country giving speeches and seminars about birds. And apparently, what he states is that all the birds in the country and the world, I guess, were killed by the government, and now all the birds are just they're just like.
Okay, now that's some tinfoil hat conspiracy right there.
Like when all the birds are mechanical, and
that's ridiculous. That's crazy.
When birds are sitting on the power lines, they're actually recharging.
Oh my Lord!
And when a bird poops on your car, they're putting a liquid tracking device on your vehicle. Of course they are. So anyway. It's crazy.
Well, that's
I guess
pretty out there.
The point of it, I think what he's trying to illustrate is there are a certain number of people that'll just believe anything, Well,
that's true.
Like there's actually people that have the flat. Have you seen the Flat Earth Society?
Yeah, I've seen that.
There's people that actually think the Earth is flat.
I know, and there's some people that think that we never went to the moon. I have my doubts.
Anyway.
Speaking of birds sit in trees. There's now a tree inequity for people of color in poor neighborhoods. People of color living in socio-economically disadvantaged communities are victims of tree inequity. According to a research group known as American Forest, the group found that trees are disproportionately planted in wealthier and wider neighborhoods and thus have deprived many communities of color of the health and other benefits that sufficient tree cover can deliver. I think it's become a game at this point. I think that the left woke are like, okay, they are going to believe anything and everything we put out there, and let's just see how far we can go, how ridiculous we can go.
They're not going to stop with whatever they can come up with. They're just going to keep coming up with stupid things. This trees are racist thing came up a year ago or so in Oregon. A school, the school had like an Indian mascot or something like that. So they were trying to choose a new mascot, and since Oregon there's all the trees, beautiful forests up there.
Who was offended by trees? Tree huggers?
They were going to call their mascot was going to be evergreens. And
that's kind of cool.
Somehow, some people thought that trees were racist. Here's an article here. I'll link to it, but I don't remember. Just you mentioning that the other thing. It just brought that up. This was back.
Maybe linked to lynching.
That's right. That's what it was. The people, when they think of trees, would think of people getting hung. And so that would be racist because
in the world,
most, but I'm
sorry, but if your brain goes there, you got something wrong. You got to screw loose.
Everything is racist. Everything
that is insane. Oh my gosh. It's a freaking tree. Speaking of tree, did you hear about this neighbor that cut his tree in half? Let's see.
I saw that.
It's over a bird poop dispute.
Was it bird poop or bird noise? I thought it was bird noise.
When words fail, sometimes you just have to cut down half a tree. At least that's what one couple did. The couple in Sheffield, UK, called in an arborist to cut down half of the branches, a 16-foot tall fir tree that were hanging over the driveway. Their neighbor told this news station that the tree has been in his front yard for 25 years. However, during the coronavirus pandemic lockdown last March, Mystery's neighbors reportedly asked to have the tree removed. More recently, the neighbors complained about birds in the trees making too much noise and pooping on their driveway. They refused to do anything about it, and since technically the tree was overhanging their property, they cut off the part that was overhanging their property. And there's a picture of literally half a tree.
Yeah, I saw that. Probably will the tree survive that?
I don't know.
Probably will. I mean, that's sort of what they do when they trim around the power lines.
So what do you think about that? I mean, we've had things overhanging our property before. What do you do in that case?
I just trim them. Like we've got a pistachio tree back here.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's doesn't have that nuts on there, but it's technically a pistachio tree.
I had no idea.
And it really smells. It smells like when you cut it, it smells like plastic. It's the
Really?
weirdest thing. Yeah.
Huh,
but I trim that thing. I trim it all the time, actually.
Well, I guess the moral of this story is don't plant trees on your property line or even anywhere close to your property line.
Our neighbors have complained about we've got those maple trees that have those helicopter seeds.
Oh,
and they complained about our helicopter seeds being in their gutters. But I mean, what are you going to do about that? They just fly over there,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. What would you do about that? Oh, I didn't know about that they complained about it.
Yeah, actually.
Wow.
It was a couple neighbors ago in that house over there.
Well, I kind of get it though. Those are annoying.
And it wasn't like complaining. It was like,
hey,
just
by the way,
yeah.
Like, realistically, what do they expect us to do? Stand there and catch them as they fly?
She wasn't asking us to clean out her gutters, but she was just sort of moaning about it.
It is annoying. I have to say.
And I said, I know about it because I have to clean my gutters twice a year because of those trees.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting kind of a tidbit there on neighbors fighting. I wonder, and I wonder. Well, I think that's just indicative of all the stress that people have been under this past year, and what you might have not realized was bothering you now bothers you because there's really nothing else to do but get annoyed at things.
Yeah,
I guess.
We did have an incident with one of our neighbors in the last few months where their dog was howling.
Yeah.
At all hours of the day.
It's a coon dog here in the city. And, a coon dog, not the kind of dog you want in the city, doesn't have a whole lot of room to run around.
Who on earth would think a coon dog would be appropriate for the city?
As he does, because he's a coon dog, he howls and yowls and at all hours of the night, by the way. Obviously dogs bark, of course, but this dog just howls nonstop when it's outside. And unfortunately, they put it outside late at night, like 1:00 in the morning at times. And it's woken up quite a few people in the neighborhood. And finally, he had to go talk to him and say, hey, really, you need to stop.
Actually, it was
control this dog.
It was on corporate tax due date day.
Oh, so you were stressed.
And it was, howling all morning. So I just went over there and said, you got to do something about that dog.
Yeah, and they have done better.
It actually has been a lot better.
It has gotten better, yes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you have to live side by side, be considerate of your neighbors. That's just, the nice human thing to do. Nothing is ever good enough for leftists. This is why people hate Democrats. You'll never guess who said that.
I know who said that. I saw that article.
Bill Maher.
He is actually.
I think he's kind of woken up a little bit, and like not in the leftist way, but in the way.
I used to think he was a complete and total.
Well, he used to be a complete and total wacko.
But
that's what I mean here lately.
Is actually coming around.
Yeah.
I think he's still a wacko, a leftist wacko, but at least he does show some common sense sometimes.
Says liberal HBO host Bill Maher. Is it Maher?
Maher.
Fumed at woke leftists during his show on Friday over a recent incident that showed how nothing is ever good enough for these people, saying that woke leftists were harming the Democratic Party. And I agree. I do. I feel sorry for normal Democrats. They must be thinking, what the heck is happening right now? Maher began his rant shortly after reading polling that showed that Latino voters sided more on the political right than the political left. I was reading also about Lin-Manuel Miranda this week, he of Hamilton fame, and he won a Pulitzer Prize for it. He's got a new musical, In the Heights, which is about Washington Heights. Maher said his parents are Puerto Rican, came to this country from Puerto Rico. The book is by someone who's half Puerto Rican. It got 96% Rotten Tomatoes. People loved it. Great reviews for which he has apologized profusely. Why? Well, there is Latinx performers, one black lead, but no Afro-Latinx. The committee that makes note of everyone's skin tone.
Latinx or Latinx?
I think it's Latinx, discovered this. And then Lin-Manuel Miranda had to say, I'm truly sorry. I'm learning from the feedback. I thank you for raising it, and I'm listening. I promise to do better in my future projects. This is what I was talking about with Nikki. Please stop the apologizing. You're the guy who made the founding fathers black and Hispanic. I don't think you have to apologize to Twitter for F's sake. This is why people hate Democrats. It's cringy. So basically nothing is ever good enough for these people. They're like children. We don't raise our children right, and it's reflected in the media. Yeah. No one ever tells their children, shut the F up, sit down, listen to your elders, stop bitching. They
just need to realize that not everybody's going to agree with what they say, and it's okay. It's okay if someone disagrees with you.
It's okay.
And you don't have to smack them over the head with a brick if they don't agree with you.
And there's a video of, I think, a town hall meeting where the Democrats absolutely throw a hissy fit because, no, I don't think it's a town hall meeting. Said Democrat lawmakers at the state and national level have confirmed that their tolerance for speech with which they disagree is at or near zero. The Gateway Pundit reported Democrats in legislature in Ohio repeatedly screamed point of order and pounded on their desks because of Representative Jenna Powell's statements. She was supporting a provision that will require transgender athletes in high school and college to join male or co-ed teams. That conflicts with the Democrats' agenda to let boys who simply say they're girls to join girls' teams, sharing in restroom and shower facilities. Powell struggled to explain her position as the near riot developed in the State House, with the Gateway Pundit calling it a full-on, petulant temper tantrum.
Yeah, this is from the party that's supposed to be tolerant. The party of tolerance.
So see, they're not interested in making changes. They're only interested in getting their way.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you dare to disagree with them, they don't have an ability to argue or debate why they feel like what they want to do is better. They just simply start calling you names and throw temper tantrums. Yeah. That's their response to any kind of dissent.
Yeah, and burn down the building.
And loot and riot.
Yeah.
It's just, it's insane how they're just so off the rails with their responses to some of these questions or pushback.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of Bill Maher, did you see Jon Stewart on the Bill Maher show the other day?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw that clip.
He was making fun of the fact that how obvious it was that the virus... Well, how obvious that it's possible that the virus could have escaped from a lab in Wuhan, where there's a lab that does that sort of research there.
Yeah, and Jon Stewart, he didn't know really how to react. Was it Jon Stewart or
Jon Stewart was the one saying that.
Oh, okay.
And Bill Maher was kind of like, "Well, we're gonna have to edit this out."
Oh, yeah.
But they didn't. They left it in there.
Yeah, Jon Stewart's another one that seems to be kind of saying some things that you're like, wow, I didn't know you were capable of thinking that.
Yeah.
But, it just goes to show how important it is to have critical thinking abilities, to debate your point of view. I mean, when you do nothing but violently respond to any kind of dissent or disagreement, I mean, that just makes you look like a child. And it makes other people definitely not even want to listen to what you have to say as far as your ideas and your thoughts. So, I mean, just like this, I mean, I don't know why people are so afraid of being called names nowadays. It's like, it's a word. It doesn't mean anything because you don't know me.
Yeah, when these things come up where they're accusing you of being, whatever, because of something, whatever.
It's just like a child, but we're too afraid to tell them no. We're too afraid to discipline them because of repercussions, whether that's verbal repercussions or physical repercussions. It's like we're running scared from a group of people that in the whole scheme of things are just a minority of the thoughts. in this country. And yet we're letting this small group of people dictate and change policies. And it's insane.
Well, I mean, they've got the news media behind them.
I guess.
Basically pushing it all too,
I guess.
So the European Union approved the COVID passport.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah. And here's an article how it works. And apparently you have to go down and go to your health provider and
just read that part.
Under the vaccine passport scheme. Do I have to read something? I don't want to read it.
Why?
Each member state will issue its own certificate, but will all adopt the same entry requirements for visitors. Individuals will obtain their passports through test centers or health authorities or directly via an e-health portal. I guess that's a sentence that I wanted to talk about right there. So people are going to have to go down to test centers or health authorities and get their or access the e-health portal to get their vaccine passport.
E-health portal. Think about those words for just a moment. They're going to have everything, any and all information about you. So they can either sell it or market it or threaten you or blackmail you or whatever.
So I guess what I'm thinking about with that sentence there is, what about people of color? Are they going to be able to get their vaccine passports if they have to go down somewhere and go to a test center?
Oh, that's true. They may not, they're not smart enough to figure out where the facility is.
Are they going to be exempt from the vaccine passport?
So, by the way, I'm saying that sarcastically because that's what the left, that's what Biden's administration makes it seem like, people of color are just too stupid to figure it out.
They're just too dumb to get
it's so
ID,
insulting to
voter
people.
ID, yeah. But the polling has come out showing that most people are in favor of ID for voting. So now the Democrats are coming around saying, "Well, we never said that. We never said that you had to."
They're trying to save face because see, I mean, we stood our ground. We put our foot down and said, "Nope, we disagree with you."
Right.
And look what they did. They turned tail.
Right. And Stacey Abrams was saying, "No, I never said that you that I wasn't in favor of voter ID." And on her website, it says that she's in favor.
Well, and if that's not proof positive that they just will turn on a dime, that they don't really care about their beliefs or their policies. They're just trying to control people in any way they can possibly control them.
Yeah.
So it's disappointing that they've approved the vaccine passports. I guess we won't be going abroad anytime soon, which is a shame. But we're not doing a vaccine passport. So I guess we won't be traveling over there. That's
the digital
sad.
version will be stored on your mobile device, and citizens can also request a paper version. Both will have a QR code that contains essential information, as well as a digital signature to make sure the certificate is authentic. The digital certificate will show the person has been vaccinated against COVID-19, received a negative test result, or recovered from the virus. So,
now,
anyway,
I'm pretty sure I've had COVID.
Yeah, that's what you say.
No, I'm serious.
I think it'd be interesting to take the antibody
Yeah,
test.
I definitely want to, just to see. And the reason why I think this is I was talking to a patient the other day. She didn't show up for an MRI that I scheduled for her. So I called her and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I have COVID." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. If you don't mind my asking, what kind of symptoms have you experienced?" And she says, "Well, it started off with a really bad headache and a stuffy nose. Like I couldn't breathe at all. A lot of pressure in my head, lost my sense of taste and smell, really super tired." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds exactly what I had about 6-8 weeks ago." And I thought it was a sinus infection because I used to be really prone to them, but I haven't had one in like 10 years. And, but it was just like, I thought it was a sinus infection, but it wasn't acting like a sinus infection that I've always had in the past. So I had one of my team members call in some antibiotics for me. That's kind of one of the perks of working in the healthcare field, and took them, and I felt better. But I had no sense of smell for a long time, even after finishing my antibiotics. So I just kind of wonder if I've not had COVID, and I kind of hope I have, because then I want to prove that I had the antibodies. I don't know if it'll do any good, but instead of getting the vaccine, if it's mandated at work.
Why didn't you quarantine?
I really thought it was a sinus infection. I really did not think, and it may not have been COVID, but based on the symptoms that she was describing to me, and she was tested and she was tested positive.
I gotcha.
But take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if these tests are that accurate or not.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder if I've had COVID. And then that begs the question, why haven't you? If I had COVID, then why didn't you get it?
That's why I said I'd like to get the antibody test just to see.
And who knows? Maybe you've had it and you just didn't have any symptoms. You're one of those asymptomatic people.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but.
So anyway, thinking about talking about the hospital and that subject, apparently their numbers are up in Southwest Missouri.
Yeah. And side note, did you keep this in the last podcast? When I talked about the dashboard. Yeah. So he got really uncomfortable with me talking about, we have this daily dashboard that comes out at work telling you how many patients are in the hospital with COVID. And he was like, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't talk about that. But we found that the CEO of my hospital actually tweets these dashboards out. So it's public knowledge.
I don't know. He tweeted it out the other day.
Well, I mean, he may not tweet it out every day. Maybe he only tweets it when the numbers are high.
I'll post a copy of this thing. And, the thing that's really disgusting about this whole thing is, the World Health Organization changed the criteria for the PCR test, which is the test that everybody's using to detect supposedly the virus, but it doesn't detect the virus. It actually detects the DNA, a certain DNA string. So anyway, the World Health Organization changed the criteria, the number of cycles how the tests are amplified. They changed that criteria on January 20th.
Yeah, I know.
On the day, Big Guy was inaugurated.
I really hate that you call him Big Guy. Why do you call him the Big Guy?
Do we need to go through that again? It's because that's what Hunter
Biden
and
do,
Tony
actually.
Bobulinski called him in Hunter Biden's emails that were censored.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But anyway, I'll also mark a line on this graph where you can see exactly when the World Health Organization changed the criteria for the PCR test. And that's when the number of cases started going down on this graph.
Yeah, I know. And it coincides with former Vice President Biden's inauguration to office.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I choose to call him.
The WHO was mad at President Trump because President Trump defunded the WHO. And then when Big Guy got in office, they
I hate that. It sounds
they
too respectful, and I don't respect him.
It's not respectful.
I don't like him. I think former vice president's better.
And you can see exactly when the numbers started going down is when the WHO changed the criteria for the PCR test. I mean, it's like
that was the day it became political, really.
Yeah. No,
even more so
it was political,
than it was before.
Yeah, I mean, it was a political thing all along.
Yeah. And then
making it worse than it really was a political thing by the CDC and the WHO. Are we going to get banned for this?
I don't know, probably. Also, there was, what'd you say, about 86% of the people that are in the hospital are vaccinated?
Yeah, I mean, the news media is
just not vaccinated.
They're just out there, talking about how bad things are.
They're amping it up, trying to make people scared again.
There's like 100. I think there's like 100 people in the hospital.
No, there's about 73.
No, it's almost 100. Mm. And so of course the news media is just going crazy. We have 350,000. Should I whisper? We have 350,000 people. There's 350,000 people in this area. So 100. Even though it's serious.
Ish.
If you're in the hospital with something. For 100 people to be in the hospital in an area with 350,000 people, is that really that great of a concern?
No.
Something to go, start making it like a crisis.
And then what'd you say about the 83% people not vaccinated?
Yeah, and they're talking. 89% of the people in the hospital haven't had the vaccine, haven't been fully vaccinated. But that means 11% of the people in the hospital were fully vaccinated. So they sort of skipped over that.
Right.
And how many people in the hospital have been partially vaccinated? They haven't talked about that either.
Right.
So, that's kind of like the hidden thing.
Yeah. For sure. I lost my link here, so I'll pull this up.
So anyway, it's just more fear, more of the fear tactics that they're just trying to push thing. And, I can see more people out there wearing masks while driving, because they're pushing the deadly
and I'm with you.
Delta variant.
I feel sad for these people that are scared. I feel sad for these people that are falling for these tactics and are living their life in fear.
Yeah.
I think that's just so inhumane and evil and cruel.
Yeah.
To make people scared to live their life.
Yeah.
I just think that's terrible.
I used to sort of, I don't know, maybe judge people when they were wearing a mask while driving, but now I just pray for them.
Yeah.
Just like, just that they'll not be in so much fear.
Right. I agree. Because it's just, as long as they make you scared, they're going to continue making you scared using all kinds of different tactics. And at some point you just have to say, you know what? I'm going to be as careful as I can possibly be, but I'm going to live my life because life is too short. I already feel like everybody's lost a year of their life already from 2020, having to stay home and hunker down and be scared to do anything and look at your neighbors suspiciously. Who wants to live like that? We're all going to die at some point. It's unfortunate, but it's just a fact of life. So that's all the more reason to cherish the life that you have and live it to this fullest. I'm not saying go out there and lick the handrails. But, get out there and live your life and just be cautious. And if you are truly scared, then stay home. No judging, or wear a mask if you want to wear a mask out. But you can't expect everyone to live in that same bubble of fear.
Should we go out and lick the handrails?
I know. Can you imagine someone doing that?
That's kind of like the guy back in the 80s. No,
I heard someone say that one time. I thought it was hilarious.
Back in the 80s, there was a guy out there, a doctor, that was saying that the HIV virus did not cause AIDS. I forget the doctor's name. Anyway, he would actually take blood from an AIDS patient, from an HIV positive patient, and inject it into his arm on live TV because he was so sure that the HIV virus.
And then he got AIDS, didn't he?
No.
Oh, he didn't.
No, he actually died of a heart attack, but he never did get AIDS. So. I forget the doctor's name, but anyway, that was back in the 80s, and he was actually very against Dr. Fauci back then, saying Dr. Fauci was promoting. I forget what his argument was, but he was very anti-Dr. Fauci back in the 80s.
Wow. There's an article here, behind the vaccine veil, doctor cites whistleblowers inside CDC who claim injections have already killed 50,000 Americans. The most highly cited physician on the early treatment of COVID-19 has come out with an explosive new video that blows the lid off the medical establishment's complicity in the unnecessary deaths of tens of thousands of Americans. Dr. Peter McCullough said these deaths have been facilitated by a false narrative bent on pushing an all-new, unproven vaccine for a disease that was highly treatable. He said COVID was a bioweapon, and the vaccines present phase 2 of that bioweapon.
Yeah, and we're just quoting these people.
Yeah,
we're
this
not
is
saying
just
that
from an article that we're reading from YouTube. Calm down.
So hopefully we won't get banned here. But
here's the thing. This is the kind of information that people need to know about.
Yeah, and why are we afraid of being banned? This is a doctor, right, saying this?
This is a doctor. And apparently these are people from inside the CDC who's claiming this.
So why is Facebook and Twitter and YouTube banning what doctors have to say? That's kind of curious, don't you think?
Yes. And he says, as this, in a sense, bioterrorism phase 1 was rolled out, it was really all about keeping the population in fear and in isolation and preparing them to accept the vaccine, which appears to be phase 2 of a bioterrorism operation, McCullough said in a June 11th webinar with German attorney, I can't even pronounce the German's name, I'm sorry. Let's see.
Well,
he's basically just saying that it's just a shame that all this has happened when we have medications that could been given to people in early stages of COVID, but instead of doing that, they banned any conversation about these medications and told people, do not go to the hospital unless you have trouble breathing. But by the time they go to the hospital because they have trouble breathing, they get ventilated and then they die. So they were being told to stay home until it got so bad to the point of no return. Whereas if they had just gotten help right off the bat with these medications, we could have probably saved thousands of people.
Yeah.
That's what's so sad about this. And if it ever comes out that's what happened, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
Because eventually it will come out.
Whatever comes out here.
It may be a while.
There's another doctor out there that he's actually one of the heads of research at Pfizer. Who he's a former Pfizer guy, but he's saying that the ultimate goal was the vaccine passport, so they can track you.
Yeah,
basically, that's what he says.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
But it is going to be interesting to see, a few years if the truth ever comes out.
Oh, it will. Eventually, it will. It may be a while, but it's going to come out. The truth always comes out at some point.
I don't know about that.
Oh, it does. At some point, it's going to.
I don't know about that.
Why do you not think that?
I mean, there's just so many things that have happened that it's like you never really are sure that you've heard the truth. Like, and I'm going to go something completely off the subject, like Flight 800, Pan Am Flight 800. I was watching TV when that went down, and everybody, the live witnesses that they were interviewing at that point said, yeah, I saw a rocket go up and hit a jet, and the jet came down. But then,
did you see that since you were watching it?
No, I mean they don't have any videos of it because that was back in the 80s or something.
I thought you said you were watching it.
I was watching the news.
Oh,
I was watching the news. Did I say it? I wasn't watching it. I was watching the news, watching TV at that time.
Yeah, I think you made it sound like you were watching the actual event.
Sorry about that. I was watching TV, watching the news or something. And then this incident happened with Flight 800, and then they were interviewing people live on TV, and everybody they interviewed at that point said, yeah, I saw a rocket go up and hit this jet.
Wow.
But that's not what the final investigation was, that the fuel tank blew up. And people were it was an optical illusion. People were seeing the jet come down, and they thought that was a rocket going up.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, there's all kinds of things like that, like the JFK shooting and the Robert F. Kennedy shooting, where you really never know if you know the truth.
Yeah, I guess that's why a lot of people are so scared, because we just don't know what's real and what's not. So that's almost more scary than knowing what's going on. It's the unknown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Almost a third of British people dying with COVID-19 Delta variant are fully vaccinated.
Well, what's the source of that?
A new report has revealed that almost a third of British people who recently died with the so-called Delta Indian variant of COVID-19 had already received 2 doses of coronavirus vaccines. Published by Public Health England, PHE, an executive agency of the UK government's Department of Health and Social Care, the analysis shows that of 42 people who died with the Delta variant, 12 were officially classed as fully vaccinated. Coming at a time when the British public are being urged to volunteer for trials to test whether a third vaccine dose could protect against new variants of the virus, the finding seems likely to be used to promote the idea that regular booster doses of the vaccines are now needed. See, when does it end?
Yeah.
When does it end?
Yeah, it's going to be a booster shot every 6 months or every year at least, don't you think? Hey, whatever happened, speaking of this, whatever happened to the emergency CDC meeting where they were going to discuss did they ever have the emergency meeting? The emergency meeting that kept getting put off because of holidays and things like that? It was a real emergency.
Yes, I read that. I don't know that I kept it, but I don't know they are now urging children to not get the vaccine, but I don't know if that was in response to the emergency meeting that the CDC had to have. Or
the CDC is
I'm pretty sure I saw that. I don't think I linked it. But I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere.
We'll have to get back to you on that one, because I didn't see anything about that this week. About the emergency meeting that they were supposed to have.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that one. I should have linked it, but I'm pretty sure I saw that. But don't quote me because I'm not real sure if that's what the emergency meeting was about. But it did seem like the CDC was urging children to not get the vaccine. But do your homework, folks. I don't know if that's true or not. Let's see. Did you hear about the censorship in Canada?
No.
Jail time for speech that offends. According to whom? Who's a censorship judge on that?
Well, Canada doesn't have the Bill of Rights. They don't have the First Amendment. They don't have the Second Amendment. I don't think you have free speech. You do not have free speech in Canada. That's what that's what Viva Frei, I think, has said.
The current Prime Minister of Canada is an admirer of dictatorship and wants to create one here. Last week, Bill C-10 was passed, which allowed and called for social media censorship for speech that was not mainstream. In other words, leftist and woke. This week, the government has proposed Bill C-36, which allows people to anonymously claim that you have made them feel unsafe, scared, attacked, and you have no due process to face your accuser. You will be forced to pay your secret accuser up to $20,000 and then be fined by the government up to $50,000. And then you could spend up to a year in jail. Think about that for a moment.
Well, I mean,
you can't say anything without someone coming back going, oh, you made me feel afraid. Yeah. I can't go outside because you made me feel afraid.
Yeah.
And you don't even have the right to confront that person and say, well, what did I do to make you feel afraid?
Couldn't that go both ways? I mean, couldn't somebody call in and say, well, I'm afraid because there's a man just like a woman coming into the women's
because it has restroom. To be that the approved language is it has to be mainstream. And men dressing up as women is mainstream.
Seems like a can of worms there,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Seems like, it seems incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
However, on some brighter news on that, what you said about the Second Amendment, 61% of U.S. counties now Second Amendment sanctuaries. So that means
how many?
61% of counties. Of U.S. counties, now Second Amendment sanctuaries.
What?
So does that mean they're for the Second Amendment or against the Second Amendment?
For the Second Amendment, I would think. Yes.
More than 61% of the counties across the United States now are Second Amendment sanctuaries by legislation adopted at either the state or county level, according to a new report. Sanctuary Counties reports 1,930 counties now are protected by Second Amendment sanctuary legislation, making up 61.39% of the nation's counties. That includes 1,137 where county officials have taken action on their own. The rest are protected by state legislation. The report noted that it's likely that hundreds of cities, townships, boroughs, and other municipal governments also have adopted the standard, but those are not tracked. But the report also came with a warning. If you live in a state that has passed Second Amendment sanctuary state legislation, but your county has not done so locally, you should consider taking steps to pass your own 2A sanctuary resolution or ordinance. We tell people to go ahead and get something passed at the local level because you never know how quickly your state can be turned against you. Just ask any Virginia gun owner how quickly your state can change from pro-gun to anti-gun.
Just ask who?
Virginia gun owner how quickly your state can change from pro-gun to anti-gun.
Yeah. So looking at the map, our state is Second Amendment sanctuary, but our county is not necessarily.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, because purple is both state and county.
Wow.
And the blue is where the state has enacted it.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, and speaking of, Australia a few years ago, I'm not sure how many years ago, but just not very many years ago, they just basically did away with citizens owning guns. And what has happened to the crime rate there? Nothing. It's the same.
Yeah. As the movement grows and more counties become Second Amendment sanctuaries, President Biden's war on guns might have hit a roadblock. Speaking of former Vice President Biden's gaffes, Biden says Americans need F-15s and nukes to take on federal government. So they are inadvertently arguing for the Second Amendment, because that's precisely why the Second Amendment exists, is to protect the government from taking over.
Now what? What was that?
It's on the, I can't remember which number it is, but in a speech pushing for more gun control in the American people, and just 11 days before the 4th of July, President Biden mocked Americans' protection of the Second Amendment. Biden falsely claimed from the day it was passed, the Second Amendment limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own. The Second Amendment protects citizens' right to own a firearm. While slave owners refused the 2A protection for their slaves and many former slaves were denied their right to buy guns, the Second Amendment has never rejected anyone. Those who say the blood of patriots, and all the stuff about how we're going to have to move against the government, Biden boldly remarked. Well, the tree of liberty has not been watered with the blood of patriots. He is so weird. That's a quote from Biden, by the way. This comment alone caused a stir among patriots with missing limbs as they remember the fellow soldiers that never made it off the battlefield.
The tree of liberty has not been watered with the blood of patriots?
I know. He's
What's
so
that
weird.
mean?
I don't know. He makes no sense.
Yeah.
Perhaps the Secret Service men who stand firm in front of him, regardless of political affiliation, have their own thoughts. But Biden didn't stop there. As the President of the United States, what Biden said next, some call an impeachable offense. When referring to Americans protecting themselves from a tyrannical government, Biden claims, if you want to, think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. He said it with a smile. The Second Amendment of the American Constitution reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It does not say that the protection under the Second Amendment was limited to hunting or small capacity magazines.
Right.
It says shall not be infringed.
Yeah, he keeps saying that, the Second Amendment didn't say you could have a cannon and this sort of thing. It didn't say anything about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He keeps adding things to it.
Yes. It's also a false anti-2A premise. If the people ever rose up here, our military would fracture, Starbuck said. The Founding Fathers were quite clear that the Second Amendment was a protection for the individual. Thomas Jefferson wrote, when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing... invariably... the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism.
Yep.
It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government. So
yeah.
He's saying, okay, yeah, you can't overthrow us unless you've got the big guns, unless you've got nuclear weapons. And it's like, sir, that is precisely why we are fighting to keep a Second Amendment, because you make threats like that. We have to have the ability to protect ourselves against you, the government.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy how they don't see that when they say these kinds of things. You're actually arguing for the Second Amendment.
Yeah. Well, we have some elections coming up soon. Hopefully, we'll change things around here.
2022.
Yeah.
What are your predictions for that? By the way, you think we're going to be able to?
It's going to be a landslide.
I hope you're right.
Democrats out of there.
I hope you're right. And Trump made some kind of big announcement on an interview with Hannity. Did you hear him? Mm-mm. Something about next week it's coming. I can't tell you much, but next week it's coming. Well, something about the big tech. I bet he's going to bring a big lawsuit against big tech or something.
I didn't hear that, but I know that the Arizona audit results are supposed to be announced next week. So
really,
yeah, I don't know if it's
that'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah.
And again, if there's nothing to hide, then why are you scared?
Yeah,
if he won fair and square.
When I worked for private companies, I used to be under audit all the time. I mean, auditors would come in, and I'd just be like, "Bring it on, man! I don't have anything to hide. Right. In fact, I welcome you to come in."
So the fact
the fact that they are fighting
so
the audits,
freaked out about it, it's like, what are you trying to hide? What are you scared of?
Yeah, what's going on? Okay, we're getting up there in time.
Also, there was a commentary on this Juneteenth. Mark my words, Juneteenth will replace July 4th.
Yeah, the way that whole thing went down this time was just just ludicrous. This like they were basically sending out emails at 4:45 on Thursday afternoon saying, "Oh, tomorrow's a holiday," because it was so late in the afternoon that they passed this thing and announced the holiday the next day,
Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
So this guy, it's an opinion piece. So Juneteenth or June 19th is now an official national holiday. It's a holiday to commemorate the end of slavery in America. What's the big deal? It should be celebrated, right? After all, it's been celebrated in the state of Texas since 1980, some 41 years ago. It even has its own distinct flag, which was created in 1997, bearing little resemblance to the Texas flag and none to the American flag. But why the big push now to make Juneteenth a national holiday? The idea and means of ending slavery began with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution in 1776 and 1791, respectively. And finally, on April 9th, 1865, it came to be as Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses A. Grant at
Appomattox.
There. Ooh, that's a big word. So again, why now? Well, because it's not really about celebrating the end of slavery in America, but what the last few years have been about and not been about. It's about the equity or equality for blacks.
They're just turning it around to be a big racial thing.
It's about the Marxist BLM agenda. It's about destroying the underpinnings of America itself. It's about eliminating all the traditions that make America great and the American culture unique. It's the Marxist playbook being played out right before our eyes, but instead of the something French...
Bourgeois.
Oh, bourgeois? That's bourgeois?
I think so.
Oh.
Bourgeoisie.
Bourgeoisie?
Yeah.
Versus, though,
proletariat.
It's race against race.
Yeah, basically Marxism was...
It's about critical race theory.
Marxism was class against class, and now we're going race
yeah.
against race.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Do you think I guess that's maybe the ultimate agenda? Because they don't do anything without a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
So it can open up this particular can of worms every June.
Yeah.
When it comes around.
Yeah, we've got that, and then they wanted to have the black national anthem sung at all the sports games.
There's a black national anthem.
Oh, you haven't heard about that?
No.
Yeah, it just came up this year. The black national anthem was to be sung at a lot of. I don't know if it actually got done, but a few at the beginning of the season. I think it was I'm not even sure what sports event it was, but they were singing the black national anthem as well as it's like the national anthem is the national anthem. Why do we have to sing?
For all people. I don't know.
I'm
not against a day to recognize the end of slavery. I'm not against that.
Yeah.
I think absolutely it should be recognized and talked about every year.
Into some divisive thing.
Yes, but
it shouldn't be divisive.
Yes, exactly. And then, they always talk about, well, I don't understand why we're not unified. This nation's more divided than ever. Why do you think that is?
Yeah.
Because you keep using things like this to divide people.
Yeah.
You won't let it go.
I just think generally, though, people are pretty much not divided and just like whatever.
I hope not.
Whatever race you are, who cares? Just whatever.
I hope that's the general consensus.
What's on the news is...
Yeah,
we're very divisive.
Well,
and it is making it seem like it's worse than it really is.
It's very encouraging to see some parents standing up at these school boards and fighting back against this agenda because, wow, what an agenda that is.
Of course, now they're saying that critical race theory doesn't really even exist, even though they've been pushing it for the last whatever.
Yeah, it's because we're finally putting our foot down
and
treating them like children. Like, nope, you're not going to get your way. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, actually, that's not what I meant. What I meant to say was, it's just ridiculous. Yeah. We just have to start saying no. Say no. Yeah. Nope, not going to listen to it. Yeah. Nope, it's ridiculous. Yeah. You're not getting your way.
Speaking of ridiculous, we're getting ridiculous up there on time.
Nice segue. Okay.
The questions.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do. Well, we could do a couple of questions from this and a couple of philosophical questions. And then tell me if I've asked some of these before. I've kind of lost track of where I was on this stuff. But okay, here's this question. Do you want to kind of think about the answer? Do you believe hunting animals for sport is right or wrong?
For sport, I don't think it's wrong.
I don't think it's right.
I mean, that's how people got their food back in the olden days.
Well, if you're killing for food so that you can survive, sure, okay, that's
so you think it's different to kill a deer to just
for the heck of it, so you can put the horns on your wall.
If you kill a deer to make meat for your freezer, is different than killing a deer, just killing it and then putting the deer head on your wall.
Yeah, for bragging rights. Yeah, like these safari hunts where people go out and they shoot down these giraffes and stuff. Yeah. Just to say they did it? I don't think that's right. I think that's cruel.
I don't think it's wrong necessarily, but I don't necessarily agree with it. Just killing an animal just to kill it, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
It's like going fishing. You know, you go fishing and, you know, you come home and cook the fish to eat.
Right. Now, fishing, I mean,
with that.
I guess.
That's a sport.
Yeah, that's true.
What about the bass tournaments where they have like a competition where they...
Yeah, but they catch and then release, right?
I don't know.
I don't think they're really killing them, are they?
I don't know.
Of course, it doesn't say killing. It says hunting. And technically, that's hunting.
Hunting, yeah.
When you're fishing and then you release them.
Yeah.
So,
but that's, I mean, the fish lives, so that's fine.
That's true. It's not like they...
I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay, the next question is, the male or female body more beautiful? Well, I think it depends on who's asking.
Yeah. Depends if you're a male or female or if you're in between.
Because obviously, I think the male body's pretty
I
great.
obviously think the other thing.
So that's kind of a weird question.
Generally, though, don't you think the female, I mean, you gals, I mean, have all the beautiful, you know, things. You're doing your eyebrows and eyelashes and things like that.
Yeah, but would we be as beautiful if we didn't do all that maintenance?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And I think that kind of goes back to the definition of beauty.
Yeah.
Some people's definition of beauty is different. I mean, just like art is subjective.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just naturally beautiful.
Well, I knew he was going to say that. He's been saying that to me for 32 years.
Women are just naturally beautiful. Men, we have to...
No, I think...
We're not beautiful.
You're
was
not
that the
beautiful.
question? Was it beautiful?
It was beautiful.
Yeah, men are not beautiful.
Yeah, more beautiful.
Female, definitely beautiful.
Men are more... I mean, they're beautiful in a different way.
We're just there.
Well, we need men. Contrary to popular belief, we need men. Is there only one soulmate for each person? Well, I guess that begs the question, do you believe in soulmates? Do you believe there's a perfect person out there for you?
No. I don't think two people...
Really?
I really don't think there is a soulmate. I think that you have to work at it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, yeah.
There's nobody that's perfect for you.
Right.
And you're not even like, we're not the same people we were when we got married 30 years ago.
Yeah.
We're definitely different people now. And you just have to evolve and change with that as you get older. I mean, that's just the way it is. So this whole notion of soulmate, I wonder if this is one reason why the divorce rate is so high, because people have this false...
like it's going to be like a movie or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Expectations, the word I was looking for, a false expectation. That's going to have the perfect relationship. There's no such thing. If you could do something dangerous just once with no risk, what would you do? With no risk? Something dangerous.
I would fly a hang glider.
Would you really?
I actually have dreams about flying.
That's so weird because you don't even like to go up in one of those little like mountain cars that go down the mountain.
Yeah. I mean, there's no risk. I have one time to do it with no risk.
Yeah, but I never would have thought of you saying anything that has to do with like being up high, like in the air.
I have dreams about flying sometimes.
That's interesting. I really don't know. I'm not a big risk person, so I don't know. I mean, dangerous in my book would be like going into the bank and taking a bunch of cash.
You're a bank robber? You have fantasies about bank robbing?
No. I have fantasies about having a lot of money. Okay, here's a good one. If you had the means, how would you address the problem of homelessness?
Well, that's interesting that you asked that, because just down the street here, probably about a mile, there's a little homeless encampment starting up here. It's like right across.
It's an encampment now?
Yeah, I mean, there's
more than one tent?
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 tents.
Really?
There. And it's just right across the bridge from the elementary school. And I'm not sure what to do about it. And I'm not sure who to call about it. You know, it's pretty close to a school.
Well, I'm sure the authorities know about it. I just don't know that they can do anything about it legally.
It's sort of hidden. The only time I can see it is when I'm driving my truck. It's kind of high, and I can see over the bridge railing. And down there's a couple tents down there. So how would I address the homeless problem? Well, first of all, we need to stop all this enabling of homeless people, like all the people standing around in corners with signs saying, "I'm stranded."
Yes, I agree.
And then you when they get off done with their sign, they fold it up and they go get into their Corvette, and drive off.
Well, there's no one answer to that question because there's so many different motivations behind people that are homeless. Some people choose to be homeless. Yeah. Some people, they've fallen on bad times and they need help and don't know where to go.
Truly homeless people, if someone's really homeless, say for some reason their house got
blown away in a tornado or burned down.
We really need to help those people. But it seems like a lot of the people are just people that want to be in that condition, or the mentally ill people. We should definitely help them.
Definitely, yes.
And the ones that have drug and alcohol problems for sure need to help them, but not if they're going to continue to
make the same choices.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, in some ways, I know this is going to sound weird, but in some ways I kind of get home because you don't have the responsibility of paying your bills, of keeping a roof over your head, maintaining your house, all the cost and responsibility and time it takes to do all that.
Yeah. I mean, in Missouri, it would be harder. It'd be more difficult to be homeless than, say, in Hawaii. When we were in Hawaii, there were homeless people all everywhere. Over the place.
Well, look at California. Yeah, I mean, California is the same.
And you can live in a tent there, basically.
Yeah, but when you come in more temperate climates like ours, where we get bitterly cold winters.
Yeah, what do you do if you're homeless then?
Exactly. I mean, it would be really hard to be homeless in an environment like ours. But there is definitely not one answer to that question because there's so many variables and so many motivations.
Definitely stop the things that are enabling people to.
For sure. And making programs where it almost encourages people to be homeless in some ways. Like, for instance, in California, I mean, you can't afford housing because it's so astronomically high. Same in New York. So what are people supposed to do? They can't afford to move. They can't afford to have a house. So in some ways, you're bringing that problem on yourself, so it goes beyond the people that are homeless.
What are you going to do about something like that, though? Housing is high just because there's a high demand for it, But I guess they're letting in all the illegal aliens.
Oh, there are ways to make it better. They just choose not to do it because it means making hard and tough choices, and then suddenly they're not as popular and they won't get elected again. I mean, it's just like a father with a child.
What would you do about the housing? Housing is just a function of the price of housing is just a function of the number of people that's there.
I don't know. It's a good
question. Like they got too many people. But they're letting more people in.
Yeah.
That's the key right there is
stop letting people come in.
Stop letting people
and take care of the people that are actually living in the state.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's do a couple more. Did we do any of these? Do you remember? I think we did actually.
I don't know.
How long will you be remembered after you die?
We asked this question.
Okay, the reason why this question caught my eye is we actually looked at plots, grave sites for our own grave. That sounds weird to say, but
humbling and disturbing.
It's very humbling, and it's but it's a topic you have to have. It's something you have to think about because we don't want to have our kids saddled with a huge bill when it comes to our death.
Yeah,
but.
How long will I be remembered after I die? It's like probably the second I die, people go,
whatever.
Who was that?
No, I guess it depends.
Who was that guy?
It depends on what you leave behind, I guess. Like if you wrote a book or you wrote a song or, some kind of materialistic reminder, I guess, of someone other than the people that are closest to you.
People dying, John McAfee?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
The virus guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? He said something specifically about he would never commit suicide.
A couple of years ago, he actually got a tattoo on his arm saying whacked, and his tweet was, I got this tattoo, so if I ever commit suicide
or I go missing, you better come look for me.
You know that I got whacked.
Yeah.
And he apparently was being very critical of the deep state in the last few years. So
yeah, it's very suspicious.
Yeah.
The whole situation's suspicious. But wasn't he in jail in other places too, though?
Well, he was in jail in Spain, and that's another question I have. Okay, how does someone commit suicide in jail, where they just happen to have a rope over there in the corner?
I know, right? Because they're always so careful about keeping things away from you, even like plastic knives and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, how does someone commit suicide in jail?
They'll even take your shoelaces, I believe.
Yeah, how is that even possible?
I don't know. But why was he in jail in a couple of other countries? What did he do?
He was in jail in Spain because I think he was being held for the United States because of tax evasion.
I thought he was held in like 2 different countries before they finally got him back here.
I only know that he was being held in Spain, and that's where he supposedly committed suicide, was in Spain.
Yeah, that whole situation is really strange.
Yeah.
Speaking of that one guy that was associated with the Clintons,
Epstein,
yeah.
Yeah, he was under
old news.
He was under constant surveillance and still somehow managed to commit suicide in prison.
Yeah. Well, that's about all I have, really, other than looking for grave sites this week, shopping grave sites. That sounds so morbid. What else have you been doing this week?
Just working on the travel trailer. It's my project right now.
And you got the split thing in there, the air conditioning.
They get the mini split, air conditioner in there, and it worked.
Yeah, it works great, actually. You did a really good job.
Yeah, and I actually have people driving by asking about it.
That's
I think I'm going to do a video, put a video on my channel.
Yeah.
Kind of update.
Yeah.
That, and have like a couple of segments like about that, and the restroom. We worked on the restroom, the bathroom a little bit this week. Got the plumbing in there.
Yeah, you should share your talents, because a lot of people can't do that. They wouldn't even know the first place to start.
But it seems like this is based upon the number of people that drive by and stop and say, "Hey, what are you doing there?" I think I'm going to probably make a video about that and post that.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good idea.
Yeah. What about you? What have you been up to?
I've been suffering all week. I threw my back out, and it's just been really painful. But I've dealt with this my entire life, on and off. It's nothing new, unfortunately.
Karen fell off a ladder.
That's true. Ever since that incident, I've had back issues.
Is that when it started?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When she was working at a restaurant, she fell off a ladder.
Because I was changing the letters on the marquee board, and I was stupid and stood on the very top of the ladder.
Yeah.
And fell off in front of a dining room full of people. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then Karen was doing a paint by number painting last week.
I know, it sounds so lame. It's so lame. But I was sitting in these hard a hard chair with no cushion for hours, bent over, painting this paint by number, which sounds so lame because I'm not an artist. I wish I was, but I'm not, and I like doing them.
Those paint by numbers these days are really pretty intricate.
Oh my gosh. This one actually you have to like mix colors.
Yeah.
And there's gradients and stuff.
You fade the things in and you like
so I'm not there yet, but
like the shading.
Anyway, sitting on that chair for some reason just pulled me over the edge, and I pulled something or pinched a nerve or whatever, and I've been using a cane, which has been helpful actually, but anyway, it's just embarrassing hobbling around like an old lady. So, but I still went to work. I grit my teeth and went through it, because life doesn't stop when you're not feeling well. So there you go. But anyway, that was my week.
All right.
Super exciting.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks again for watching and listening, and I hope you have a good week, and don't be scared. Just live your life. Be safe. Yeah?
Yep. Thanks for watching and listening.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye.